Let's talk herd.
It's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of the time, for me, those times have been when I've lost, and then because I don't have children, so for me, my animals are like children. And when I've lost animals and I've just been in such a place of loss and suffering, and then just something has made it just change around, and I'm just like, oh my God, like it's an amazing feeling. And yeah, I had one of those recently because we lost our little dog just 10 days ago. And it was really, it was particularly traumatic because it was an accident and she wasn't, she was only coming up for 8 years old. Yeah. And it was kind of, I could consider that it was my fault if I wanted to think that way, the way it happened. But it was kind of out of my control, and that was part of what. And there were so many miracles that have come out of that and things, but the one I really want to share with you is despite all of those wonderful things that she gave us, and I think that that's why she left then, to give us all of those things. I'm sure of that, but this day I was out there and I just felt the emptiness, so deeply, and I was like, and then I was thinking about, well, if she's really in spirit and that, you believe that, so why are you not feeling that? Like, why do you think it's somehow that she was in the past? Like, she's here now. She's here now. And you've got, and I just said to myself, if I could let go of whatever that limitation is, that's telling me that it's just a conditioning. It's just the way we're conditioned about death. So, and I've done this so many times. I know this, but I just was still going into that trap. So I just felt her. I was just able to get past it and feel her there. And then I just heard her. I heard her voice. And when I tell people this, they I know it can sound like, oh yeah, you heard her voice. And my husband said it's convenient what she said, but it wasn't like that. It was her, because for all of my faults, I would say I'm a very honest person, and I just don't lie to myself even. I don't do that because there's no point. It's like meaningless then. But this was so meaningful. It was her. And she said to me, you don't understand why this happened. You don't have to understand.
Yes.
She said it happened because it happened to you. Like you were in the situation with me because you could cope with it right now. Like it was just something that you had to heal and you could cope with. So don't even think about that. It's like she showed me the future. She showed me the linear nature of how we get caught in, it was almost like a swimming pool, and we get caught in the middle and we forget that there's the edge and that everyone's waiting at the edge. And she gave me that really strong picture, like, don't worry, you're just in the middle, it doesn't matter. It's not like that. She said, I'm here. And she also said, what she said was, this was the most wonderful bit of it. And I don't really think I made it up, because I tend to think that when they leave, they go on to the next thing. And she was so adventurous, and she was always adventuring, and it was her next thing. But she said to me, I want to be with you. I want to live with you in that situation. And I want to experience what you're going to experience. And so I'm coming back. And she said, you'll know me. You will recognize me. You'll know it's me. And that just, honestly, I just felt amazing. And all of that, and it just was like you say, it was that shift just from that dark place to the light place, just like that. And I thought, God, it's so powerful.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And because you 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 took the blinders off, right? The blinders came off so you could see a different possibility.
Yes.
Um, and and it will happen. I can I share a similar story with you real quick?
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so I had a dog, Jupiter. He was a white um, golden retriever and Labrador mix, and we lost him to bone cancer, and he
Mm.
was just he was my heart dog. And a couple days before he passed, we were sharing together, and I don't know if I said it to him
Mm.
or it was just like
Yeah.
one of those, it just was stated between the two of us, um,
Mm.
that
Wow.
he would come back to me, and I would know because it would be a white dog. And that was
Wow.
that,
That's so beautiful.
yeah, that was 2012. And so, life went on and lots of stuff happened, and I had totally forgotten about it. And my husband and I in 2017, so 5 years later, um,
Mm.
we had lost another dog to bone cancer, one of our golden retrievers. And so we were looking for adopting a dog, and we were looking
Mm.
for either a senior dog or a special needs dog. And we were online looking, and we found 5 different dogs that we were going to look at. And we went to the last one, and we met with the foster family, and then they brought the dog out. And he was this
Oh, wow.
very quiet Great Pyrenees. And yeah, he was gorgeous. And he was, very thin. He was rescued from a Walmart parking lot. I mean, the story was horrible. And he didn't really interact with us very much. But
Mm.
he was very nice and very gentle. And then we left, and my husband and I got home, and we were talking about which dog would we want to
Mm.
get. And we both talked about the Great Pyrenees. So we called the foster mom, and she said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you called me back. Um, the dog," and I can't remember the name they called him back then, but whatever. She said he was distraught. He watched you from the couch
Oh, wow.
driving
Oh my
down the
God.
street. He was distraught for hours. She said it's
Wow.
like he couldn't believe you left. And so we ended up adopting him.
That's
We ended up
amazing.
adopting him. And it wasn't until
Wow.
about a year later when I was connecting with, we call him Coda, I was connecting with Coda in the same way I was connecting with Jupiter back then, that all of a sudden I started to
Mm.
cry because I was like, oh my God, it's you.
Oh my
I
God.
mean, like I had totally forgotten. I totally
Wow.
forgotten.
That is,
Totally forgot about it.
wow. That is amazing.
So,
And it just, I mean, it shows because like it happened,
mhm.
like you remembered. And
So it
yeah,
totally.
that is amazing. Because you didn't remember
No, yeah,
cognitively, you
yeah,
remembered in your heart. And that's what's so, yeah, that's what I love so much about this, like, work and that level of things, that in that place, nothing is forgotten and it all makes sense and it all, it's all so coherent.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that word. But yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So,
Wow.
yes. So just believe in your heart when it's the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the way that it changed how I felt was just so fundamental. And I haven't really felt sad about her. I mean, I think if I really chose to try and go back to that place, and I could, but I just don't have any desire to, because I just feel really happy and so joyful about it. I just know that she is, she's doing whatever she needs to do in the meantime, and that, and she's coming back. And I think if you were skeptical, you could say, oh, well, you just say things like that to make yourself feel better. But it doesn't work like that, because it wouldn't make me feel better unless it was truly received, unless it was truly, like we talked about at the beginning. If it's something you make up in your mind, then it's not full, it doesn't fulfill you in the way that if you receive something, like with the trees, and that's why you know the difference, because of the way it makes you feel. And I think that's really important and maybe if you have an agenda and you're quite ego orientated, then you can start to do that, but it's not the same thing. It doesn't give you that joy.
And that I get the sense for you, a sense of contentment now.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? That there's...
Yeah. Because one of the important lessons I learned from it, or not lessons, I don't really like that word, but I had a really powerful meditation after it, because what happened was I was driving the tractor. I was out in the field, and I was actually just moving it. So I was just going backwards really slowly, because I always drive it slowly because they're so dangerous. And I'd seen her at a distance. I'd seen her quite away in the ditch. And so in my mind, she wasn't near. And I saw the other dogs out of the way. And she was always so smart as well with the tractor, like really aware. And I went back really slow, and I heard this crying. And it was strange crying. It was kind of like, it wasn't desperate. It was just like, I instantly, I like panicked. I just went into crazy panic mode. I didn't know. You can't see a thing with these things. I mean, it's quite a big trip. I couldn't see anything. I can't even remember if I went out and saw what happened. It was all like a blur. It was horrible. But the upshot of it was that she'd got caught under the wheel, and we took her to the vets, and there wasn't really any. She could have lived. It was because she didn't have internal bleeding. And she had quite a badly broken pelvis, but she could have survived, but she didn't.
Oh.
She didn't. And there was lots of reasons to judge myself. Like, why did I leave her there? I know that they wouldn't get the care that, she wouldn't get the care that she would have got at home. I could have pushed and taken her home. No. All sorts of things. But the main thing was the fact that I was driving it. And I had no idea that she was underneath. She must have been digging a hole. And I kind of judged myself, like, was it that she was only trapped a little bit and that I could have done something? And because I panicked so badly that I know I didn't, I just went forward again. But, it's just, I think when it was like life just took over. And I had a lot more of an understanding for my sister and what happened with her when she I mean, just a bit more of an understanding, because it was
Mm-hmm.
just the way that life, that things like can just, it's almost like you're going along and the tape's going at a certain speed, and you've got things, you think, because I was in a really good place. I was really
Mm-hmm.
happy. I was not rushing. I wasn't trying to be, I wasn't even like stressed or anything.
Right.
So I was like, how did I attract that? But it was like the tape just speeded up and everything just went out of control. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, so anyway, that night I woke up and I just thought, I can't handle this. I cannot handle the responsibility of having, done that, or what I did or I didn't do. And
Mm.
it just, the feeling of it was so crushing. And it was so bad that I just knew I had to go
Mm.
into it. There was no other way. I wasn't going to be able to distract myself. So I just sat there and I felt like this knot, like, and it wasn't in my body. It was
Mm-hmm.
like in my energy field. And I've never really felt that before. It was like this huge,
Mm-hmm.
horrible, heavy, suffocating knot. And I think it's from like, maybe even like a past life, or like, or a conditioning, or it wasn't just from this incident. This
Mm-hmm.
incident had like put me back, it like almost brought it to the surface, I suppose, or made it like really like a strong thing again, like
Yes.
reactivated this thing. And it was almost making me
Mm-hmm.
hunch over, but I went into the emotions of it. And the emotion was like, at first it was
Mm.
this guilt that was just horrible. But then
Mm.
that changed, and that just became, and eventually it just went into pure terror. And I realized it was
Oh,
just terror of being out of control, of doing it. And then I realized it was my deepest fear was to hurt an animal. Or I don't know if that would apply to people as well. But in this,
oh,
that is my deep, because I'm always really careful on the road, really careful all the time.
right.
And this was something that happened, and it was like, yeah, it was like the worst possible. And so there was just this pure terror. And it was really like, but as I was focusing on it and just acknowledging it, it's like this knot was just lightening, and I could feel all these little, almost like these little energy
Mm.
lines just straightening. It was like they were twisted and they were just straightening, and things were just straightening up, and I was able to just sit
Mm-hmm.
up, and it was just gradually, like the terror was just gradually fading, and it was all lightening, and it was just a process, a really beautiful process. And then I felt like this
Mm.
blue energy, really like bright blue light, just cleansing my mind. It was like this really strong, because I don't usually get colors like that, but it was like
Oh,
this blue
nice.
light in my mind, just cleansing. And I thought, that's
Mm-hmm.
what this was for. That's why it happened in that way, so that I could heal that, because it's obviously something that's been there for a long time, and it's been, really
Mm-hmm.
creating this block. And so, and then, so that was amazing. And then like
Mm-hmm.
about a week later, um, I was walking with the dogs, and I saw this oak tree, and I just wanted to touch this oak tree. This is just a little kind of aside, but the oak tree
Mm.
reminded me of the blue light. And it said that blue light was a gift from Gracie. Like, it was her. She used that light,
Ah.
that was her light, to do that. So that was just a little, and I thought, well, isn't it amazing how everything's connected? Like, like everything knows everything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 100%, definitely. And
Yeah.
it it may have been a situation where um, that's why she came into your life to help you heal
Mm,
whatever that
yeah.
was.
Yeah. I really think
And
so.
so,
Yeah.
and that's what, that's why I think our concept of control is so, we have no control over anything. I mean, we can truly only do so much, right? We do our best, but at a certain point, shit happens. And usually when someone passes, whether it's, you know, a two-legged someone or a four-legged or winged or whatever, I believe that there's a reason for that. I mean, if she wasn't supposed to pass at that time, she wouldn't have.
Yeah, I really do believe that. I do. I do. And I think, how else are we going to really be able to let things go and just, yeah, and it's just so comforting to know that there's all that like wisdom there and it's available to us, you know, and that we can, yeah, as if we choose to see that, if we choose to see the, you know, the miracles that happen, then yeah, they're going to be
Right.
there. And it's, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you get any residual feelings of that knot at all since?
No, I've not been aware of it at all. But I hadn't, I mean, no, let me think
That's
about
great.
that. Because not in that format. I'm trying to think if I still have. Other things might have become more acute. Like I've noticed this feeling of really needing to feel like I'm doing enough and that I'm, you know, and that I'm really like, because that's always been a strong one for me as well. Like, you know, I don't want to feel like I'm wasting time and that I'm not doing, you know, enough. So that might have actually become more acute because I've been doing this thing. I practice that. If I start thinking like that, I tend to start listing all the things I've done in a day and like, that helps to just like, but yeah, so I think maybe that's the next one, you know, because it's.
So, yeah. So, can you use that blue light in that situation?
That's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Yeah, I should. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, because that's there now. Yeah. Well, I'll do that and I'll let you know.
I mean, as a gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and I would I I would I would ask yourself even what that's about for you. You know, needing to be doing enough.
Yeah.
Just, you know, inquire a little bit about
Yeah.
where, you know, where does that come from? Why is that there? What if you didn't? What's the worst thing that would happen if you didn't do enough?
Sometimes I feel because I don't know if I've really. Yeah, I don't know how, you know, because you're always going back to the sort of beginner's mind. So I don't know how much I've done this before, but I tend to get this feeling like the time here is really precious, and but I know that that feeling does not help that because it's not present. So it's, you know, yeah, but I do, it would help, I think, to go more into that and just even just the feelings of it, you know.
Yeah, for sure, the
Yeah,
feelings.
that's always the road.
For sure. And where in your body, where in your body are you holding that? But that's a beautiful gift she gave you. So I would play with that blue light for sure.
Yeah. I did get the feeling at one point, because had to do that. I was doing this long drive the day. And the morning that we found out she didn't survive, I just thought, I'm going to go anyway, because staying here is going to be worse. And, I just need to go and do that drive. And so when I was on the drive, I was like, I just wanted to invite her presence. And I just felt like filling up with love. But then there was then a rainbow appeared in the clouds ahead, and I just got this kind of, it was almost like a memory of, not a memory, I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like this reverberating feeling through the heavens, like this kind of sense of that she's really something she's so huge, she's such a, like her little, and I often felt this when she was alive, that her dog body was almost a bit of like a cosmic joke, because she was put together in a really fun way.
Yeah.
She had like big ears and really short legs. Like her legs were half the length of a normal dog, and then a long body, because she was all different breeds mixed up. She looked like a collie, but with a hat with shortened legs.
Right.
But she just had these eyes that were so
cute.
wide, like a chimpanzee or something. And it was like she was just this amazing being that was just so much beyond her body, but she was just having fun, in that body. Yeah.
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 Aww, that's beautiful.
It is an amazing thing. Just the whole thing, isn't it?
Such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think for all of us, it's such a gift to. I just wish that, I wish that more people realize that world is there, and that it's not something to be afraid of, and that, because for me it's so comforting. I don't think I could live in in a superficial way. That's how, it's a bit of a judgmental word, but it's just like how I feel about it when you're not connecting with those other dimensions, or I just wish it was more part of our heritage, or I don't know, the kind of human experience. Really.
Well, I think it is. It's just from so long ago, we have to, if we don't have ancestors that remind us of that, then we have to do that deep work ourselves to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever get frustrated with like feeling like you're kind of like you're unusual in what you do, or do you have a lot of friends who kind of get it, or where would you say, how do you feel about that?
Good question. I think I've been this way for so long. I've always felt I've always felt very different. There were definitely times in my younger adult years, in my 20s and 30s, where I, put the mask on and was in corporate America and was miserable. And then it took, kind of reawakening. But yeah, I've always felt just not. I've always felt a little different, definitely, and frustrated. I'm not, I think I'm turning 60. So I have so many years behind me of going through so many different versions of myself, some good, some bad. And so I don't have a lot of frustration because I can so identify with almost anyone. And I can identify with mistakes that people have made because I have made so many mistakes. And it's because of those situations that I kind of feel like I'm at where I'm at, and I'm so grateful. If there's one thing, I do wish, if I could go back in time, I do wish I would have had more courage when I was younger to be and really embody who I was rather than putting that mask on. If I could just kind of cut out like 20 years and just stitch the rest of it together. But I think that probably had to happen, right? I learned a lot because of that. A lot.
Exactly.
Like you said, there's probably an easier way to learn that than I chose to, but
maybe there was.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, I think that all of those things are just so uniquely perfect in the way that they unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel though that you're just not I don't know if this, it just kind of came to me when we were talking about this, that sometimes I feel like it's almost like there's a kind of gap, like there's human beings and humans are quite human and then there's like people who've come to try and help humans, and that's not at all a sort of judgment or a I'm trying to think of the right words. It's not like, I don't mean that in a sanctimonious way at all. It's just like there feels sometimes like there's such a fundamental difference in the way I feel that I view things sometimes. I just think, God, I'm just not human. Like, I just don't understand. Like a lot, mostly, I suppose, with things like medication and conventional, like the way that the health system works. And it's just so, to me, so, and maybe it's just my experience in life and it's nothing really to do with that. Maybe everybody feels like that about their, about the things that they are more awakened about. But it just sometimes feels like being on a different wavelength completely. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think it can how do I want to say this? There's a part of me that would love to and does love to just isolate myself and avoid all of this stuff that's happening. And yet and yet it's really not possible to do that, right? Because I we're all here right now. And so my intention every day is to be present for whatever appears in that day. So, if I have to go into the city, which energetically can be really taxing and draining for me, then that's my practice for the day. Being present in my body, being present with the people around me, keeping my energy in, we're talking about love, right? So using that HeartMath practice to be that loving presence in the midst of just crazy land. And by doing that, not that every time, but a lot of times there are just these beautiful moments that appear, these beautiful little miracles that remind me that we are all the same thing. We are all the same. All the same. It's not just me that came from Star. We're all the same. We all breathe the same air. We're all taking in all of this energy and molecules that have been here for eons. We're just each these beautiful, magnificent individual beings on these different paths. And so I try to, even in the midst of, challenges, to embody that as much as possible. It doesn't always happen, but
it feels really good, that though, doesn't it? And when you analyze, when I look at, when I feel good and I feel really connected to my source, and then I do feel part of everything. I don't feel that sort of. So I think it just is another, it's another sort of ego trick in a way, that you kind of create a separation, that you don't feel the same. And because it's true. It's true. The only time you can really know that it's authentically, that something is true, is when it feels good and you feel good, and it's coming from love, really. So I think anything, the rest of it's really just a fear thing, isn't it? That because it is quite a fearful thought that humans are some kind of different, like, unevolved thing that that just can't learn and keep having wars and destroying the planet and stuff. It is a fear-based perspective. So I think that's kind of what it's always about, isn't it? Just kind of learning what's what and what comes from where, and just to be in that place.
Yeah, I remember kind of going back to that image of, the fish in water. I remember somewhere along the lines, in a book or something, someone said, just if you go about your life as though you are living in love, like everywhere you go, you're breathing love. Everything is representation of love. Then people that bother you or frustrate you, or your horse that's frustrating for whatever reason, then in that little fishbowl of love, then how do we respond in love to that situation? And gosh, that's whenever I think about that, it's like the most powerful thing I can think about, because it totally switches me out of any frustration, judgment in an instant.
It's just that digital shift, isn't it? That's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So amazing. And every time I experience that, I think this is it. And then you kind of forget again.
Yeah.
It's
right. It's the human experience of going away and coming back and going away and coming back. And it's in Chinese medicine, we talk about the water element, and the water element is like the essence. And because I'm a body worker, that water, like in craniosacral therapy, we talk about that dura matter, that it has that there's a pulse, right, to everything. There's the tides of the ocean. There's everything. There's a pulse. There's a living pulse, and our lives are that way too. I mean, unless we're evolved beings, which I certainly am not, we have this human experience of coming and going and ebbing and flowing, and it's all okay.
And I think sometimes that, like we were saying at one point, it helps to remind ourselves that we're maybe just a part, like a finger of our soul has come here into this body to do this particular thing, and we can't judge it. Like, we can't say, oh, I'm not this, the enlightened one. And because I think that's the meaning of that, we're all one. Like, we all evolve together. So we're sort of all awakening together, parts of ourselves. And I think there's so much that we'll understand when we go back into that greater consciousness again. And you just have, like Gracie said, we just have to trust. Just accept that we don't know it all at the moment, and it's okay. Because we can't possibly.
Right.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so lovely. Oh, thank you. Truly. It's always just such a beautiful experience, just sharing with you. And I mean, I feel like we could just talk for hours and hours.
I know.